Champions League is back, and the competition is packed with absolute Romans. Slum landlords, warmongering paramilitaries, and a man accused of snatching Maddie McCann. Pull up a padded corporate seat and pour yourself a glass of Gazprom as we dine at the top table of European scandal. Welcome back to The Upshot. My name is Jack. Zach is here as ever.
Hello, Jack.
And we are joined by European football expert Jack Collins.
Hello, boys. How are we doing?
Hello, mate.
A lot of rhyming on this couch today, right? Jack, and Zach.
Oh, yeah, Jack, Zach. Lovely.
Real good.
Considered growing your hair longer?
Yeah, I'm having a think about it, mate. Permanent fixture.
Just to fit in.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jack, of course, is the host and founder of Ranks FC, the excellent European football podcast. He's been burning the candle into the early hours this week for the Champions League games.
Yeah, it's been the UEFA have really done me over here with this new format, putting extra days on. You know, I assume it's just to rule me out.
Yeah,
really.
It's just to flog you and Rodri.
Yeah, we're going on strike together. It's going to be a lot of fun. The holdout. Come see our picket line.
Obviously, in true Upshot tradition, the competition has started.
Yeah.
When this is going out, we like to preview competitions normally about a week or two into them, just to prove that we're not across these things.
It's like when people join a fantasy football league a week in and you can already see who's looking good.
Yeah, but you're just a bit behind it all. That's kind of our vibe. Whereas
It's
Jack,
the only time to preview it. How do you get a flavour for it if you haven't seen a couple of games already?
well, exactly.
Right?
We get to say at the start of this pod that Villa absolutely pounded Young Boys. So it's worth it just for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank God they did, so that it made sense delaying the preview. That game was at the world famous Wankdorf Stadium, of course, where Young Boys play.
It writes itself sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it would be remiss of me not to mention the headline from Reuters news agency when Young Boys Wankdorf Stadium opened, and the headline was Young Boys Wankdorf erection relief.
I mean, look, this is why you get paid the big bucks, or famously why you don't in journalism. But these are the ones. There's newspaper headlines that just get the tone right.
I was looking when I was looking for this Wankdorf one, which, by the way, is a difficult Google.
Especially in today's climate.
Young Boys erection, which is what I searched for. Luckily, NHS websites came up rather than anything more nefarious. But
you are on the BBC.
On the work computer. But anyway, it came up with forum posts of other just more filthy vibes. So there was when Schmeichel left Man City and they got David Seaman. I don't know if that ever actually happened, but it was Keegan fills Schmeichel's gap with Seaman, which is I don't know if it's even that good a headline.
That's just provocative.
Yeah.
Gets the people going. I know exactly what you're doing there, don't you? There's no mucking about.
Yeah. Actually, Jack, you've actually been immersed in the action.
Yes, I have.
What do you think of the new format? We're not going to talk about it much, but
it's a bit of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? I think for travelling fans and fans going, it's a really good thing. They get to go to 4 different grounds now, an extra different ground, and they'll have different teams coming to play them at their stadium. So if you're Villa, right, and you're looking at the teams you get to go and play, Young Boys kind of aside, there are really cool matchups. Celtic coming to Villa Park. It's not a game that I'm like, oh, okay, they'll lose that. You'd imagine they will beat Celtic, but I think when you kind of look at their schedule and you look at some of the things that has been thrown up, I get why they've moved to a format where you're not playing everyone the same team twice.
I quite like that.
I quite like that aspect of it. I don't like the seeding aspect of it, which means that it's just funneled towards a Real Madrid Man City final, isn't it? It feels like that's the case. So I think we'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. I don't mind it, but I'm also not overly enamoured by it.
Anyway, should we kick off?
Yeah.
I thought we'd start by talking about one of European football's premier head cases, an elite manager, but also a total nutter, none other than Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid's manager, El Cholo, as he's known. He's a famous head case. I always think Simeone has quite the energy of your aunt's third husband who's a bit of a cokehead.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just you'll sit down for the family meal and he's just sweating and breathing quite heavily.
Scowling at you.
Yeah, and then maybe everyone's making a few jokes at the table and you just accidentally say the wrong thing to him and suddenly he's just got you up against the wall with his steak knife to your throat. Just it can turn very quickly with Simeone. I mean, I'll mention a few of the reasons I think he's in that category. he's basically very intense. You know, he makes his players train till they puke. He starts fights with opposition fans quite a lot, which I love. There was a video, I think last season, where the Atleti team bus was being pelted with rocks, and you could just see, it was quite dark, but at the front of the bus you could just see his eyes bulging, and he was just slapping the window, being like, come on, I'll fight you! Just real angry energy. Kieran Trippier said that he used to phone players in the middle of the night, wake them up, and just give them like really minor tactical instructions. So just like, you're just like sleeping in the middle of the night, his phone rings, oh yes boss, and he's like, hola, it's El Cholo. And he's just like, Kieran, I want you to track back. And you're just like, what the fuck?
I'm a right back, boss. I don't go forwards.
But that's proper. That is proper intense manager shit, isn't it? To like wake you up in the middle of the night just for something that could have easily waited till the morning.
It's a bit like when you like sit bolt upright and you imagine these things when you're just like a normal person, you wake up in the middle of the night, you know, I need to do that. Most people write it down. I like how he just acts on it instantly.
Yeah.
He's like, I've worked something out, I'll call them now.
Yeah,
imagine if you did that with your general day-to-day life. You're like, oh, okay, cool, you know, we've got something planned for the upshot. I'm going to, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night, great idea, I ring Zach.
Yeah.
I'm like, Zach, we need to do this. He's like, it's 2 a.m, obviously leave me alone.
At 11 minutes 34, can you crack this joke?
But I swear a lot of teams now have dedicated sleep coaches.
Yeah, not
Surely that's not in there.
He probably is the sleep coach. Yeah, sort of wears many hats. And actually, another example of just how intense he is. When Atletico Madrid were chasing the La Liga title in 2021, he banned his players and club staff from saying good morning, and instead they had to say champions. Just whenever you see people
this would have been
champions.
so bad if it didn't work. Now, imagine you spent the last 3 months just walking around being like, campeones, campeones, and then you lose. Like, you lose the title. Like, I don't think you'd ever be able to look at anyone in the face again, right?
And also, the day where you have to go back to good morning would be quite depressing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very Mikel Arteta to do that.
Yeah, it is quite.
Do you have to win the dog with by saying champions as well?
As you pat his head.
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta is quite intense as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like paying pickpockets to rob his players. I think Simeone would respect that sort of stunt.
Although, you can imagine like them getting on quite well and then Arteta telling that story and Simeone would be like, too far.
Yeah.
Like, and just looking at him being like, no.
I just feel like Simeone, it can turn very quickly. The steak knife is out. So he even likes to regulate his players' sex lives. He was on a chat show last year and they told Simeone that the average Spaniard has sex 56 times a year. So once a week plus holidays.
Yeah, plus bank holiday.
It's basically Christmas, one other holiday. It's ample in my book.
Yeah.
But Simeone was absolutely disgusted and he replied, that's 4 times a month. With 4 times a month, you're not playing in my team. And then the chat show host was like, what is an acceptable amount? Like, how many times do you have to shag per month to be in Diego Simeone's team? And he went for 15. So that's 3 or 4 a week.
Fair enough.
It's quite a lot.
That's every other day.
No wonder his players love him.
Yeah.
Like, there is that element of like, you know, his players will run through walls for Diego Simeone. You're starting to see why.
Yeah. Do you think he's calling Kieran Trippier to check up on that? Half an hour later.
Trips.
Yeah,
Trips.
Kieran, one more thing. Actually, could I speak with Charlotte? Does sound exhausting playing for him. Like, you're fucking being ordered not to say good morning. You're being like made to train till you puke.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're talking about burning the candle at both ends before, weren't we? This does feel like burning the candle quite heavily at both ends.
At the point where he's like setting you milestones for your sex life.
Yeah.
Anyway, beneath his slightly monstrous exterior, Diego does like to think that he has a razor sharp mind. And 2 seasons ago, he posted a photo of himself and his son on a beach playing a game of chess. We're looking at it now. He captioned it, "A duel that requires a lot of concentration." So you can kind of see what image he's trying to project there. There was just one small problem. Diego was playing without a king, which is quite an important piece if you're going to play chess. And when it was pointed out, he deleted the post.
Right,
So
okay.
I can only assume that picture was staged.
Well, I mean, I suppose the only thing is, obviously there have been plenty of queens of Spain. Maybe they run it slightly differently.
Well,
maybe the queen is the most important piece.
Is this his 4D chess in action?
Perhaps this is all it. I'm interested in which son this was, because he has 3 sons who all play for different teams. And 2 of them, well, they all came through at Atleti, but his eldest son was at Napoli forever, and still is actually a long time. Scores quite a lot of goals, and there was a big weekend in the Champions League, or big week in the Champions League last year, where Atleti won, and Simeone Jr. scored twice, and it was like a real nice day for the Simeone family.
week.
Yeah, exactly. So, but all of his sons play, I believe.
So he's now playing for Conte.
He is now playing for Conte, famously quiet and unassuming man.
Yeah.
But I reckon that Simeone Jr. is quite used to Conte's training methods, having grown up under his father's stewardship.
Yeah, it's fucking vanilla.
Yeah, he's like, you think this is hard, lads? Good luck.
Yeah, not having my erection measured.
Oh, we're back with young boys. Classic.
No, I'll tell you what put that in my mind is, there's this guy, Brian Johnston, the guy who's trying to be immortal. He's trying to cheat death.
Oh, yeah.
Tech bro. He's like 40, but his biological age is like 18.
He only eats supplements and that.
Yeah, and one of his main metrics is the quality of erections per night. I think he wears like a sort of aura ring or something around his knob, and it measures his erections.
Well, don't tell Simeone.
Yeah, honestly, I think if Simeone heard about this, he'd be like, well, that's perfect to check blood flow. It's the sort of measure I could see him implementing.
Yes, absolutely.
Diego also has got some pretty interesting characters in his squad. None other than upshot favourite Marcos Llorente is among them.
What a footballer.
So Marcos, we've talked about him before, but I just thought we'd shout him out because he is, of course, the guy who believes that sun cream is a conspiracy cooked up by Big Pharma to flog more Nivea. So he thinks sun cream doesn't protect you, and he's just out there in the sun cooking. So when Atleti play Slovan Bratislava in January, if you see someone who's inexplicably bright red and peeling, that's Marcos.
Yes. He's quite the character.
Do we think Diego Simeone is a wrong 'un or like actually pretty great?
Like both.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this, what we've just talked about is nuts, right? But I actually think, and look, I said it before, but his players love him. They will run through walls for him. And that speaks a lot, right? Like to actually where you get to this. If you have a manager who does these mental things and they're not liked, and, you go back to your Felix Magats and cheese on knees and running up hills and all that kind of thing, and players just absolutely mutinying, right? If Simeone wasn't actually like well loved and respected, his players would mutiny because his stuff is mad.
Yeah.
But they don't, because they love him, and I think that probably puts him in that wrong and but probably doing it right.
Yeah.
Kind of category.
You'd love him as your manager.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Even though the football's not like thrilling.
No, but obviously Conor Gallagher's gone there now, and it's quite interesting seeing him there. He fits in like a glove. He was born to play for Diego.
Already, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was born to play for Simeone. I'm really excited about seeing that. So look, we'll see. But I think Simeone is a very, very good manager.
I'm going with not a wrong 'un.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, who's next, Zach?
So when you scan through the marathon fixture list of this year's Champions League, Liverpool's tie against PSV Eindhoven probably isn't the first fixture to jump out at you. It's the last round of the group stage. Liverpool will probably already have qualified. Yes. There probably won't be too much riding on it. There is, however, a terrifying prospect facing Liverpool's Cody Gakpo, being met at the airport by a mob of furious Dutch tenants brandishing their rental agreements. So Cody Gakpo has this portfolio of properties around the south of the Netherlands, a number of them in the Eindhoven area that he rents out. And the Dutch paper De Limburger did a little investigation into them earlier this year and discovered that these properties are in an absolute state, apparently. So the tenants claim that they're not fit for human habitation. The flats are riddled with damp, with mouldy walls, there's holes in the plaster, exposed cables. So in one of them, there was evidence of dead mice decaying in rotting stairwells.
Oh, God.
So there was
rotting stairwells.
They spoke to a resident who said, "A rat fell down through into my living room. It scared me to death. I saw it running. It was a rat with a long tail." Another one added, "You see the gnaw marks on my sofa here. I don't actually dare to be here."
God.
So
gnaw marks? That's rats, isn't it?
It's rats, yeah.
It's not mice.
So basically, Cody Gakpo is a slum landlord.
Wow. I really wasn't expecting that today.
He's operating some.
I was expecting a lot today, but I wasn't expecting this.
He's operating what, like sort of Dickensian?
Yeah, he's like
slums.
I'm just imagining him spending the morning of the match touring around these grotty student flats in Eindhoven, like gaffer taping up mouse holes and painting over the black mould and
all the tricks.
Convincing the tenants that it's normal to have mushrooms growing in your shower.
This is so bad. Like, what?
Yeah, so, I mean, his agent came out when the story came out earlier this year. His agent came out and was like, "Yeah, no, it's we've done sufficient maintenance on these properties. We've checked them. Like, there was a mouse problem, but it's dealt with. But which it is classic slum landlord.
Bare minimum is done.
Yeah, just coming around.
I laid down a trap, and now it's your problem again.
Yeah. So I tell you the story about I was living in this flat in Deptford, and we had really bad damp as well because the bathroom was in the middle of the house and there was no fan in there, so it meant that every time anyone had a shower, the whole just thing filled up with steam. And we were getting on at them for like over a year about, please fix this fan. There's like black mold on the walls. And eventually, after about a year, they came round and were like, yeah, we're going to fit this ventilation system. So there's going to be like a pipe that goes from the middle hall through the back of my bedroom and then out onto the street. So the guy came around to fit it, and I was working from home downstairs, had to like take everything out of my room, cover it in dust sheets, everything, and heard all this drilling from upstairs. And then the guy came down and was like, I haven't got the parts, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to come back probably next week or the week after. And I said, okay, whatever. Like, gave him my number and then went up to my bedroom, and there was a hole the size of my head in the wall of my bedroom out onto the street. And this was January. It was freezing cold outside, and he just literally drilled this head-sized hole in my wall and just left.
Just fucked off.
I was just like, what the fuck?
Good for the rats, actually.
Great,
easier for them.
Great ventilation. Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that Cody Hackpo has expanded his property portfolio to Deptford.
Yeah, he's in Deptford now. The Empire.
Gosh.
Yeah, I just like called the guy up and was like, "Are you just gonna leave it like that?" I was like, "Yeah, no." It's like, I'm just trying to source the parts. He's like, why did you not check that before you drilled a hole in my wall? I just stuffed it up with a bit. I stuffed an old bed sheet in there to like block out the cold, which
good
not
nest
work
for the mice.
Yeah.
God.
Honestly, this one's really taking me aback.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cody Gakpo is wrong.
No, like as in just look, you got loads of peas. Go and sort it out.
Yeah.
Like
Also, does Cody Gakpo really need to be collecting like
yeah, this is what I was thinking.
£750 a month for
yields.
I get like having businesses after your career is done, but Cody Hackpo's pretty young in his career, right? Like there's lots of money to be made yet. Maybe he doesn't need to be doing this.
Doesn't need to take £50 off your deposit for leaving blue tack on the wall. For that set of keys you
flipping
lost.
over the mattress.
Right, I think I know what we're going to decide on this next character, but I'll talk about him. Achraf Hakimi, the PSG defender, one of the best right backs in the world.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
This starts in quite a dark place because he was charged a few years ago with rape. He was involved in a very nasty accusation that he's currently under judicial supervision in France. So it's like being on bail, I think, awaiting a hearing. Anyway, don't worry, that's not what I'm about to talk about. But we can't really say much about that because of the ongoing stuff. But it did lead to his wife divorcing him. And they had a very messy split.
Very public.
Very public. His wife's Hiba Abouk. She's a Spanish-Tunisian actress, and they were together for a few years. They got kids. Anyway, they split. Very public divorce, as you say. But, considering he earns 200 grand a week, she was probably expecting quite a big payout in the divorce, particularly as she sacrificed her very well-paid acting career to raise their children. But there was a slight hitch for Hiba when it emerged that her husband was officially penniless and didn't have any money to his name. And this emerged when his own mother spoke to Moroccan press and revealed that Achraf has been secretly transferring his assets into her name and even getting his salary paid into her account. And the mother said, if my son doesn't do this, he couldn't get rid of this woman. So that his wife can't get a hand on
that
his
phrase,
money.
mums and their boys, right? Yeah. It does feel a little bit like that.
Also, the way the mum says he couldn't get rid of this woman makes me feel like it was the mum's idea.
Oh, yeah.
And the mum's never liked
this
her.
Is wicked stepmother vibes, isn't it? Yeah,
It's like, you need to give me your money.
Yeah. Very Cruella de Vil.
But, if you're Hiba, you're legally entitled to half his wealth. You're kind of looking forward to getting a half-eaten tub of hummus and some Fortnite vouchers because everything else is in the mum's name. Also, do you think if Hakimi needed to buy anything, did he have to call his mum? It's like, we need a new washing machine, mum. Can you wire me back my money?
Right? Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Got to top up my mobile again.
Mum, yeah.
I think in the end, to be fair, Hiba, his ex-wife, did get a proper payout.
Good.
Yeah, I think the courts must have been like, look, I think we can see what's happening here.
Yeah, as in, I really enjoy the idea that he thought, like, they won't see through this one.
Yeah.
Like, it's just all in my mum's name. Like,
Money's in Morocco now, so what are you going to do?
it feels like a really, like, you know, when people try and avoid inheritance tax.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can see what you've done. You've sold the house for £1 to your son. like that's not how this works.
Yeah, it's not that. Especially as his mum then came out and gave an interview to the press, just being like, well, she's not going to get any money.
Maybe she's not quite as underhand as she thinks she is.
I mean, do I even bother asking, wrong or no?
To be honest, this bit I feel like he's just been quite manipulated.
Yeah.
But yeah, still wronging. But just maybe the strings are being pulled from wrongings elsewhere.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, that's Ashraf dealt with.
It's also great to see Sparta Prague back in the Champions League.
Is
I don't
it?
know. Well, you know, it's nice for a sort of
They're kind of romantic
they're
European team, aren't they?
I quite like seeing those big.
Yeah, to be fair, like Sparta, like I did have a mind blank there. Sparta Prague, I do prefer to Slavia, who have had some pretty difficult times over the last few years with racially abusing their own players, Rangers players.
That was not what I meant.
That's why I was a bit like, oh, okay, is it?
It's great to have
Sparta are actually far more pleasant as a unit. Yes, it's good to see Sparta Prague back in.
We know why you like them, Zach.
Yeah. I was like, that's not the phrase I would have used. No, apologies, Sparta Prague fans. Apologies.
I, for one, am delighted to see Sparta Prague back. I don't know if they're going to have massive expectations of going far in the competition. They got smashed 11-2 by Liverpool in the Europa League last year. Their previous brush with an English side before that was when West Ham played the Conference League final in Prague a couple of years ago. So Sparta weren't even playing in that match. But their ultras decided anyway that they wanted to give West Ham's notorious intercity firm a hostile reception. Obviously, this was the year that Knowlesy had his semi-final fight against the AZ Alkmaar ultras when they tried to storm into the West Ham end, and Knowlesy was there with his ripped shirt, just like beating them off single-handedly.
So West Ham were like the biggest prize in hooligan football at the time.
Yeah. So, you know, you can imagine that the Czech hooligans' delight when they emerged from their scrap with a huge scalp, a West Ham flag that they'd robbed for a bunch of fearsome Hammers fans. So we've got a picture here of the Sparta Prague ultras, all in balaclavas, holding a West Ham flag upside down.
We'll link to it.
And, you know, looking at this photo, you're probably picturing them wrestling the flag from a 100-strong mob of neck-tattooed hooligans, wrestling it off the iron grip of Knowlesy. But turns out the flag actually belonged to a small brigade of bookish English lit students from Durham University.
Hey, let's not mug off English lit students from Durham University in front of me, right? Like, some of us are a bit more hardcore than these lads. Right?
So we've got a picture of them. Is that in Prague?
That's in, what's it called, the main square in Prague. And the flag is a West Ham flag, and in the middle it says Durham Cockneys. And in the bottom left corner, there is a quote saying, "Don't let your degree get in the way of your education."
Which is the introductory line from Bill Bryson that he used to say at everyone's, when you matriculate at Durham.
Oh, yeah?
That was the line given to you. You get wheeled out in Freshers Week after, a big night out, and you get rolled into the cathedral and you get given a speech, and that's the line. Don't let your degree get in the way of your education.
Okay.
Do you think the Sparta hooligans had in their mind as they held it up, they were just thinking of you matriculating in the cathedral?
They were thinking about those beautiful gowns, right? they're those like white woolen hoods.
Someone's reciting in Latin.
There's even song going on. All the big bits.
Picturing the showdown between the Sparta Prague ultras and these English lit students, where they're just like, "Give us your flag," and they're just like, "Okay." Just hand it to
the
them.
Battle of Michaelmas. It's really
some fearsome bits at Durham University. Unbelievable.
Okay, quickly, Sparta fans, wrong-uns?
Nah, well, almost certainly, but not on this count.
Weirdly, we found the one thing about them that isn't.
That's just quite funny.
Yeah, I'll check out their stuff on hooligans.cz. I'm sure there's some
I'm sure there are some fearsome bits.
Yeah.
They probably are wrong-uns, but on this count, we're going to we'll leave them.
The guys in the picture look like they organised dogfights. would be I mean, it's hard to
I don't think they had to fight anyone too hard for that flag, let's put it that way.
All right, moving on, but staying in the world of violent thugs. Like most people, I assumed that Sead Kolasinac was now playing in Turkey or, I don't know, starring in the Bosnian Love Island or something. But it turns out he is still a going concern, the former Arsenal defender. He's now a rock in the defence at Atalanta.
He's been really good, like surprisingly good for Atalanta.
I was quite rated Kolasinac at Arsenal. He then had that weird stint at Schalke. I think we told this story on our German football pod before, but I was
there when you told the story.
For listeners of the upshot, he was last seen fleeing the terrifying ultras at Schalke after they got relegated. So you might remember the story. Basically, Schalke went down. It was an away game, long coach journey back to the stadium to get dropped off. And when they arrived back at 1 a.m, there to meet them was a 600-strong mob of livid Schalke fans armed with fireworks and eggs. And they then chased the newly relegated players around the stadium concourse. And do you remember one of the players, I can't remember who, ended up getting chased down the motorway by the Lebanese mafia?
Yes.
Which is a tangent, anyway. But Sead was among the group who were being chased around the stadium, which I always found quite surprising because he's hard as fucking nails.
Yeah.
As we all know from the time while he was at Arsenal, and Sead and Mesut Ozil were driving through Hampstead when two knife-wielding muggers attacked them and demanded their watches.
I've always just found it absolutely nuts that they got mugged in Hampstead of all places. That's the bit that's always stuck out of this story.
Is this where like organised
This is organised crime, surely.
Target rich people, yeah. And there's this amazing video where Sead refuses to hand over his watch, and he just stands completely still as this attacker like lunges at him, and then he kind of chases him off. It's pretty impressive. Mesut Ozil said later, "I drove a little bit forwards and backwards to try and get the moped away. I told Sead, jump in, and thankfully he did," which to me makes it sound pretty clear that Ozil tried to drive away and leave his friend for dead. And then he subsequently tried to make it look like it was a tactic to get the moped away. But he then went on. The second guy again tried to get in. Sead closed the door and I made a U-turn. There was a construction site there and they took bricks and stones to throw at us.
That's surely not going to work. There's like a big vehicle. It's a big
but
old...
if they break the window...
You're still going to drive off.
And I think one of their wives was in there as well. Pretty terrifying. I mean, it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
I would definitely do the same as Ozil and just try and leave my friend and be like, yeah, I was going for help. It's every man for himself when the fucking knife-wielding muggers come out.
Yeah.
He actually continued. He said, I started driving, but they followed. I was driving very fast, but they kept coming back on the moped. I tried to move the car, block them, escape, but each time they'd be there, my wife was extremely scared. I mean, I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah. I mean, you would be quite scared.
They eventually go to like a Turkish restaurant nearby.
Yeah, and then they came out and all they came out with the stuff. 100%.
With the kebab skewer.
You know what? That's exactly what you don't muck with those communities. Like 100% when people are like, this is it. These are not things you get involved with.
Yeah.
So fair play. Also, that's smart thinking. Whoever came up with that one.
Yeah.
Be like, I know who'll look after us here.
Yeah, agreed.
This is me running into an Irish pub when I'm being chased.
Exactly. Finding people. A witness, I guess from the Turkish restaurant, said that Mesut Ozil looked absolutely terrified.
Which is absolutely fair enough.
Yeah, but
as far as I'm concerned.
It is annoying for him that he's come out of the story looking like the pussy.
Well, yeah,
Kolasinac is fighting them.
He's also the one that was like, I was going to drive off, and thankfully he got in because otherwise he was gonna.
Yeah, I kind of think Ozil's come out of this looking like Kolasinac saved his life.
Yes,
I mean, but Sead Kolasinac, that is fucking impressive.
Yeah, he doesn't even flinch.
The weapon does later turn out to be a knitting needle, which is a bit. Yeah, but look at it.
It looks big.
Yeah, but it's like one of those long,
thin.
You know what I mean? And in the video, what is noticeable is the mugger kind of overplays his hand because he lunges at Kolasinac but doesn't stab him. He has the chance to. At which point, it's clear he's not going to.
Maybe.
Actually, soon after the incident, Kolasinac's wife Bella was caught landing in a private jet at Biggin Hill Airport, armed with an electroshocker taser and a kosh, which is one of those
Spider-Man.
You know those telescopic canes for hitting people. She had just had one of them in her bag, which, to be honest, fair enough. After that,
yeah.
They did catch the guys who did it. They banged them up for 18 years.
18 years
Proper scumbags.
for that.
I think they've been doing other shit.
Yeah, I was going to say they can't have been banged up for 80 years for that. Like, as much as obviously it's terrifying and terrible, like, they haven't actually done it.
Trying to rob someone with a knitting needle.
Armed robbery. It's attempted armed robbery
with a knitting needle.
It looked pretty sharp.
But yeah, not wrong on it, I think.
No, definitely not. and
A hero.
yeah, quite, and like a guy you want on your team now. It's weird that he didn't stand up to the Schalke ultras.
Yeah, but maybe like if the rest of his teammates were running, he didn't want to show them all up.
Yeah, also 600 strong.
That's a lot of people.
Fireworks.
Maybe he's allergic to eggs.
Yeah. Lebanese mafia. It's a bit more scary. I mean, these two guys is scary. But yeah. Okay, not a wrong one. I agree.
Not Oregon.
Probably the biggest hero so far.
Yeah, great.
So another element of these Champions League rivalries is, of course, in the field of love. So
Wow.
That's my erotic voice. If you haven't heard it before.
You ever thought about doing ASMR?
So we talked on Extra Shot a bit about Real Madrid's Eder Militao, who stole his last two girlfriends from Neymar and then performed a wag swap with the Flamengo centre-back Leonardo Pereira. He poached his girlfriend Tanya Castro.
What, and lost his own in the process, I assume?
They swapped.
Well, like knowingly? They like met up and shook hands, or like this just happened?
I guess they operate in similar worlds.
Quite a fluid world, I get the impression. Like when we say he stole Neymar's girlfriends, I think Neymar's sort of on to the next.
Yeah.
The person I do worry for is the girlfriend who's now with Leonardo Pereira, because she went out with Neymar, then Militao, and now like
right.
no offense to Flamengo centre back Leonardo Pereira, but she is sort of tumbling down the hierarchy at an alarming rate.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Next she'll be on dating shows with Jamie O'Hara.
Yeah, it's Wayne Lineker next, isn't it?
There's also the prospect of Thibaut Courtois coming up against Kevin De Bruyne again. Obviously, we've talked about this one before as well, that Thibaut Courtois stole Kevin De Bruyne's girlfriend of 3 years. So at the time, she said, Thibaut offered me what I had not received during a 3-year relationship with Kevin. With Thibaut, I could talk about anything and everything, and he even prepared me a delicious meal. Kevin never did that for me.
Just the extra jibe there. It's like, you've already left me.
Right, yeah, 100%. There's no need for this.
Yeah.
I do like that she got in the jibe about Kevin not being able to cook.
He does.
But she does have that vibe.
He does have a Rustler's microwavable burger energy about him, doesn't he?
He's quite pale and spotty. Just lives off energy drinks and Doritos. My favourite Champions League love triangle, though, came a few years ago when Eric Dyer landed a rare double over Alexis Sanchez. So within the space of 10 days, Eric helped Spurs to knock Sanchez's Marseille out of the Champions League and then announced his engagement to Sanchez's ex-girlfriend. Oh. It's a model called Anna Modler.
Hang on. She's a model called Anna Modler.
To be fair, sometimes it's in the name. It's why Arsene Wenger had to manage Arsenal, and Jurgen Klopp was loved by the cop.
Mancini, Man City.
Yeah, absolutely. She was born to model.
Anna Modler.
I actually got one more love triangle for you. So this is a rumour, I should say. There's no real hard evidence on it.
Conjecture.
There was a rumour going around that the Juventus striker Dusan Vlahovic, during the World Cup, he was forced to deny that he was having an affair with the wife of Serbia's reserve keeper. So Dusan does heavily deny this. He says that the story is absurd, but I don't know, there's something especially rough about it being the reserve team goalkeeper's girlfriend. It's like, surely he's suffered enough.
I don't even know who the wrong one is in all this. None of them really.
No,
Courtois.
Courtois might be.
Yeah.
Courtois might be.
Possibly. All right. Actually, while we're talking Serbian football, I just want to quickly mention Red Star Belgrade, who, if you're looking at the table, you might have trouble finding them because they now go by
Crvena Zvezda.
I like having clubs like that. That feels like a romantic European club to me.
92 winners.
Yeah, 92 winners. Quite an intense sort of club as well. They obviously have this rivalry with Partizan Belgrade there, which is known as the Eternal Derby. That is
it's the most mental game I've ever been to.
Really? You've been?
I have. I went to Belgrade. I went with my now fiance when we were. It was the first real holiday we done together.
You take her to the Eternal.
Well, no, it's better than that. We actually went to Budapest and then Belgrade, and then we got arrested on the Serbian-Bosnian border when trying to go to Sarajevo, and then ended up in Croatia. But that's a story for another day. Oh, just for crossing the border.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we were there in the time where there was a derby on, and it was at Partizan Stadium rather than the Maracanã. And at the time, Fulham had a real partisan link. Slavisa Jokanovic was there, Mitrovic, etc. So there was this thing, and I was like, great, we'll go. We're walking to the stadium, and I'm like, this road is really weirdly empty. Like, this is the main road to the stadium. Why is there no one on it? Anyway, I turn around and there are 6,000 partisan fans walking in lockstep, complete silence behind us with a big banner. I was like, Lucy, we need to get off this road now. Right now, we need to get off this road. And she's like, why? I was like, because those people are going to the stadium and we need to go behind them, because if someone crosses our path right now, we are right in the crossfire. Yeah. And I have made the very stupid decision of wearing black and white.
So you're literally in the wrong colours.
No, I was in partisan colours. It was at partisan, but yeah, it was a lot. So the game
Silence
was incredible.
is more scary.
Much more terrifying. Flares up, complete silence.
That's really frightening.
It was terrifying.
Maybe a bit of like very deep sort of like...
To be fair, we were quite far in front, so like I assume it was... there might have been a bit more noise as you got closer. So was it... we must walk in a side street.
Was it actually like a like mental derby in like... Have you done the Old Firm or something?
I haven't done the Old Firm. No, the Old Firm doesn't do away fans, so actually they're,
Yeah, good point.
I've been some pretty bad games, but that one in particular, the actual genuine, obvious hatred between the two sets of fans is palpable, and that is something you kind of look at and be like, wow, okay, cool. Right, anyway, Red Star.
sorry, Red Star. So actually, on the derby, the eternal derby between Red Star and Partizan, they played in the 2021 Serbian Cup final, and it went to penalties. It's like really tight. And when Red Star won it, one of their players celebrated by just taking off his shorts and pants and just waving his knob around.
Yeah, windmilling
at the opposition players.
That was a thing.
It's quite a nice flavour of what it's about.
Yeah, no, that feels right on brand.
Yeah, and for me, not a wrong one, that guy.
Just an exhibitionist.
Yeah, I think windmilling after a penalty.
He's on the border.
I think I'd like more of that.
He's close.
Anyway, also last season Man City played Red Star and their fans were chanting "Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that." Which I should. First of all, it's particularly funny because Red Star won the European Cup in 1991.
Yeah,
so not right. But also, some Man City fans were denying that they were singing that, and they claim we were singing "We'll never sing that." But I spoke to a Man City fan who was at the game, and he said they were chanting it.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. One club who definitely won't be singing that chant are Benfica.
Yes, they will not.
So Benfica have had some good runs in recent years. And of course, they won back-to-back European Cups in the 1960s while managed by the great Hungarian Bela Gutmann. But
the most interesting life story in the entire world, by the way.
Really?
There's a book about it. I'll look it up now in a second and I'll get it. But he is the most fascinating character.
Did he survive the Holocaust or
something
like that?
Yeah. Escaped the Holocaust, went on to manage Benfica. You'll talk about it. But like, he is an absolutely intriguing character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly going to focus on one specific childish story, which is that after they won the European Cup for the second time, Gutmann was like, right, I want a pay rise. And Benfica refused. And so, like any sane individual, he placed a curse on them. And he said, not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be European champions, and stormed out of the club. And since then, Benfica have lost 8 straight European finals. Their last one was in 2014 when they lost to Sevilla on penalties. Mm-hmm. I guess there's no shame to losing a Europa League final to Sevilla. And the year before, they lost it to Chelsea as well.
Yeah. Ivanovic scored a header very late on.
But I mean,
seems like quite a strong reaction to not getting a pay rise.
100
years.
Don't get any ideas, Zach.
To be fair to him, he had just won back-to-back Champions Leagues. Like that's about as good as you can get for a Benfica side that was very good, respect. But they'd gone and won it twice in a row. This was, the height of where they were at, and he wasn't asking for. The book's called The Greatest Comeback, and honestly would highly recommend it. It's a brilliant read. But he asked for a 10% pay rise.
Oh, really?
It wasn't like he was double my wages or I'm out. And the club were like, no, we're not paying you anymore. We want to buy players. Yeah. And he was like, hang on, I'm just taking you twice to the summit of European football.
He could have just left. He didn't have to curse them for 100 years.
Yeah, but to be fair, he'd had a bit of a tough run at it by this point, as we just discussed, right?
Didn't see the train drivers cursing LNER for 100 years when they didn't get their pay rise.
Well, they eventually got it, right?
The junior doctors didn't turn to dark magic.
Maybe they should have done. We could have resolved this a lot faster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible story.
Yeah, so he brought through Eusebio, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah.
The great Eusebio. And actually...
Eusebio visited his grave, right?
Yeah, so when Benfica reached the 1990 European Cup final against AC Milan, Eusebio visited Gutmann's
Well,
gravestone.
Eusebio was the manager at this point.
Oh, he was, okay.
So
that almost makes it more
or at
funny.
least at least very much in the club style.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was the manager, but if I'm not mistaken,
he
was.
visited Gutmann's grave and prayed for forgiveness. So, if you're the manager, shouldn't you be working on your transitions?
Nah, Eusebio understood that a curse is a curse.
Anyway, lads, I'm pleased to report that the curse has been lifted because a few years ago, Benfica's under-19s team won the UEFA Youth League, which some Benfica fans claim means that the curse is over, as they are now European champions.
No,
that does not count.
No, thank you.
UEFA Youth League champions, you'll never sing that.
I would just confirm that Eusebio wasn't the manager. He was he was involved in the club. I think,
like an
in
ambassador.
the board. And
Actually, that's a fitting job. That's
that's
what I want my club ambassadors to do.
More credit where it's due. My bad.
Rather than hobnobbing with Gazprom execs, let's get you down to the grave of our great manager. Get that curse lifted. Yeah, we like a curse story.
Yeah, 100%.
Is it the curse, or is it the effects of late capitalism and concentration of wealth in a
State
increasingly
ownership.
Sure, but Porto have won
small.
like four like European trophies since then. So, like,
I do note in that Benfica count the Europa League final in it. It's like, is that what Gutmann meant by Champions of Europe?
who knows? We'll have to see. Well, let's get Benfica to a
check the
final here
small
and work
print
it
of
out.
this curse.
Moving on.
We were talking before about terrifying fans, and I think it's probably hard to compete with Shakhtar Donetsk ultras,
Yes.
who have, they've spent the last few years living in a war zone since the Russian invasion. Although it turns out actually that some of the Russian army might also be fans of the boys in black and orange. So last year, this British fighter, a guy called Sean Pinner, went over to Ukraine and was captured. He spent 6 months in captivity after surrendering alongside some Ukrainian forces in Mariupol. And, after 6 months, he was released, returned safely to the UK, and he was telling stories about what had happened. And he said that amid all of the torture and neglect that he suffered, there was a little bit of comic rapport that he built up with some of the guards. And they were sort of like, okay, so what kind of jokes were you having with them? And he said, well, they had this cattle prod, and
As all good stories start.
they had this cattle prod, and they kept buzzing us with it. And they said, "What team do you support?" And he replied, "West Ham," and they just poke him with a cattle prod, which great japes they had. And he said that after a few electrocutions, he switched his allegiance to Shakhtar Donetsk. He was just like Shakhtar Donetsk, and the guards just started laughing, and that was his story of a bit of comic rapport with the guards. Which,
Sounds like a
That was
right
it.
laugh.
I assumed it was going to be like, there's going to be like, yes, us too. No, they just stopped torturing. Oh, classic.
But,
Vintage, man. We had a great time. You should have been there.
they stopped poking me with a cattle rod. that is the evidence. Of
Briefly
that.
stopped waterboarding.
I've been Shakhtar ever since.
They took the thumb screws off for 2 minutes.
Got a highlights reel of Willian's season with me.
Sean Pinner, not wrong.
Not wrong, although what sort of madman do you have to be to go and fight as a mercenary in Ukraine? He has got a Ukrainian wife. He married in Mariupol, so I think he possibly had no choice.
Okay, all right. No, we'll go not wrong in there.
Yeah.
Some skin in the game.
He's definitely hard.
Yeah, that bit I kind of got.
Yeah. All right, finally,
Do you know who are wrong is actually the guards. I thought we were going to forget that for a second.
paramilitaries from the Donbass People's Republic.
They're wrong'uns.
Yeah.
Cattle prod wrong'uns.
Gonna go with wrong'uns if you all right, finally, guys, I've got a sort of a bonus one for us because he's not currently playing football, but I just had to mention this guy because while researching Dinamo Zagreb, the Croatian side who are in this year's tournament, I came across Dino Drpic. He hasn't played there for years, but I wanted to talk about him because of two really good stories. So firstly, Dino was playing for Dinamo Zagreb in 2009. He was doing quite well. He won a cap for his country. And then his wife, Playboy model Neva Celsius, revealed on a talk show that they had shagged in the centre circle of the club's famous Max Shamir Stadium. So it was sort of like a casual chat show, and they're like, oh, what's it like being married to a footballer? And she just said, yeah, Dino had arranged for us that people should turn on the stadium lights, and he finally fulfilled his dream of having sex in the middle of a football pitch. It was very naughty, she giggled. Unfortunately, Dinamo Zagreb didn't find it so funny, and they instantly sold him to Karlsruhe. He never played for them or Croatia again.
That is exceptional. Exceptional. I like her name Celsius.
I was going to say,
I reckon that's real. Is there's another one?
That's kind of normative
I'm hot.
as well. Yeah, hot. Celsius.
Nivea Celsius.
Yeah, Nivea Celsius.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm hot.
That's a skincare routine right
Moist.
there.
Oh, sorry.
Marcus Llorente would hate that.
It is a good, it makes me think it's a fake name. It's too good.
Yeah.
Also, good decision to go Celsius and not Fahrenheit.
Absolutely.
Much sexier Celsius.
100%.
Kelvin would have been the other option.
That's the least sexy option.
All right, I'm not done there though, guys, because there is another incredible story about Dino and Neves. So a few years after he was dumped by the club for shagging in the pitch, he and Neves were on holiday with their son Leon in the Croatian island of
Son Fahrenheit.
their son Kilometer. Neves, Dino, and Leone were on holiday in the Croatian island of, I think it's pronounced Kirk. It's got no vowels.
That is vintage.
Tough Croatian word, but
tough crowd.
No vowels. Anyway, they're on the beach, just like sunbathing. Leon's making sand castles, and suddenly this British couple is sort of wandering over, and they keep staring and pointing at their son, and then they start taking pictures of him, which is like a bit weird. He's 2. But, Neves and Dino are kind of used to it because they're quite famous in Croatia.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, this is a bit weird. Hopefully it stops soon, but kind of going with it. And then suddenly the British woman grabs Leone, their son, and tries to run away with him. And they're like, oh my God, what? They chase them down. And they're like, well, they like call the police and stuff. There's this big altercation. And it turns out the British couple on the beach thought that Leone, Dino's son, was Maddie McCann.
What?
So I got a picture of him here at the time. I mean,
It doesn't
kind of see it, but
looks a bit.
what
It
I
just
would
looks
say
like,
is,
it just
by the
looks
way,
like
Like,
a
surely,
three-year-old.
when was this?
this was 7 years after Maddie was snatched. She would have been 9 at the time. And he's a 2-year-old. So basically, he looked like the famous picture of Maddie McCann
When
from
she was
years
2.
earlier. Yeah. And this British couple who I think they must have been smashed.
Surely.
Well,
Or just like absolutely, completely, utterly
bit
brain
bonkers,
dead. Yeah.
And they hadn't computed in their head that Maddie McCann
Would
would
have
always
aged.
look the same.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him. He does kind of have the eyes.
It looks a little bit.
It's a baby.
It just
It's-
looks like
it's a
it just
small-
looks like
it's a small
a
blonde-
little
it's
boy.
small blonde
3-year-old,
child. Yeah. Like, can I see it? Like, yeah.
Also, if I did think I'd seen Maddie McCann on the beach,
My
I mean, she'd be
immediate
like
aunt-
20 now, but I'd call the police. I wouldn't snatch her.
My immediate
She's been
thing
through
would
enough of
never
that,
be
quite
to
frankly.
smash people. Yeah. Like,
Can you imagine that happening to you? Like, they thought our son was Maddie McCann.
I think these two might be all right. I don't think they're wrong.
Oh, Dino.
Yeah.
They've since split, I'm sad to
Oh,
report.
that is sad.
Dino and Neves
Maybe, yeah.
Celsius. Right, finally, guys, I think, that's all we've got, but it'd probably be good to name our biggest hero and biggest villain / wrong in the whole thing.
Yeah. My biggest villain here is Cody Hackbo.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely stunned by this. Like, that is not okay. And maybe that talks about where my moral
But
standpoints
is
lie on
it
lots
not
of this
that
stuff. But
different from him just like owning shares in an unethical company? Like, how actually involved is Cody?
no, but like also, like, I feel like that's attached to your name and you are a famous footballer. You need to deal with it. Like, look, maybe he has. And maybe there's a story out there about how everything's been fixed. But I feel like we would have found it
Yeah.
if that was the case, right? So I feel like if you have, again, we were talking about earlier, like, does he need this 750 quid a month from these lads? Probably not.
Took your deposit.
Like, how much is he paying said agent to actually run it in the first place? Probably like 60% of it anyway. Like, I'm kind of out on this.
All right, so you're going biggest villain, Cody Gakpo. I think
Yeah.
that's valid.
Yeah, I think so.
Zach, who's your biggest villain?
Probably difficult to look past the Russian paramilitaries like, torturing people with cattle rods. But
Okay,
That is a
yeah.
fair point, actually.
They are Shakhtar fans, so it's loosely
They
related.
did stop, huh?
Briefly, to recharge the cattle prod. I am probably going to go for the British couple who tried to
Steal a
accuse
child.
Dino Durpich of abducting Maddie McCann. I think that's pretty bad.
Or Mesut Ozil for trying to speed
Run away
Just
from
ran-
his friend.
He so obviously
ditching
was.
Kolasinac with 2 knife-wielding muggers.
Yeah,
If you're Mesut Ozil, you'd be a bit annoyed if we compared him unfavourably to Russian paramilitaries.
almost certainly. Yeah,
Okay, biggest hero.
it's Kolasinac, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to look elsewhere. I think
Simeone's up there.
maybe the Durham Cockneys.
Very brave.
those poor lads. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Shad Kolasinac.
Bella Gutman, 100 Years of Curse. That's quite good.
That is
Sean
great.
Pinner. He took
He's a bit of a
took a
hero,
mean tasing.
Yeah, fair play to
I'm
him.
going to go Simeone for my hero.
Okay.
I will go for the tenants that live in Cody Gakpo's flat and
Yeah,
have
that's fair.
exposed the slum landlord.
There's such a man of the people.
For, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bayer Gutman, actually.
Bella Gutman. Okay, lovely.
Putting 100-year curse on is odd.
So hang on, no one's going for Kolasinac.
Nah, he's been sacked off. Yeah, once we found out it was a knitting needle, it was less
Fucking
impressive. Then he ran to help, did he? Classic.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jack. I've really enjoyed
No,
this.
thank
one.
you. It's been a real pleasure as always. Was really
A
appreciated.
great tour through European football.
Class.
Quite an
The other
alternative
side
tour.
of things for me.
Yeah,
it's
very
really nice
much
to
the
be
other
here
side.
and do the bits.
I think we'll probably do the Europa League and the Conference League at some point.
Oh, I'm so here.
So please come back for them and some other European football specials. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for listening.